Hello! Today I'll be going over a tutorial on how to play Shakespeare from Istari Games. This is for 1 to 4 players, it is a worker placement game. Let's take a look. In the game of Shakespeare, you are preparing to put on a play by hiring actors and craftsmen to build the set, make costumes, and improve the quality of the play act by act. This is the setup for a 3-player game. You'll have different numbers of set pieces and costume pieces depending on the number of players, and that will be shown on these cards. So this is for a 3-player game, and the set pieces will all go in these bags, and the costume pieces will go in the other bag, and you'll draw them out randomly and place them out here. And the number that get pulled from the bags is also dependent on the number of players. This is the main board where you keep track of each act of the play. You'll provide set pieces and costumes that are available each turn, and you score prestige points. Whoever gets the most points wins. There's also a turn order track and an initiative track. And up here is the day counter, since the game takes place over the course of 6 days. At the beginning of the game, you'll take the player tokens, 1 of each color, and you'll put them all on the 5-point mark on the prestige point track, because it's possible to lose points right from the start of the game. These are character cards. There'll be different ones that are available to recruit each turn. There are 4 available in a 2-player game, 5 in a 3-player game like this one, and 6 in a 4-player game. Each player will have their own player board. Everyone starts with these 4 characters that can be used to take actions. This is the stage where the set is constructed. This is the ambiance track where you keep track of your theater's morale. Each turn you'll be using these tokens to take action, and you can place them right here to keep track of them. Each day has 6 phases. The first phase is wager, where players will use their worker tokens to determine turn order. Then you have activation and recruitment. Players will take their actions and recruit new characters. In ambiance, the players are either awarded or penalized based on their morale. On days 4 and 6 only, you'll have dress rehearsals, where the acts of the play are scored. Then you'll have maintenance, in which that particular turn's character cards are discarded and replaced, and the set pieces and costumes that weren't used are wiped and replaced as well. Then during rest, each player chooses which of their characters will be rested, which means they won't be available the next turn. At the very beginning of the game, before the first turn, the player discs are shuffled, and then they're placed on the turn order track, like so, and then they'll be replaced in reverse order on the initiative track. So in this case, blue would be number 1, and then green, and then orange. Then in turn order, each player will recruit one of the available characters. Character cards are either actors or craftsmen. Each character's possible action is shown in the upper left corner. A square around a number, like this, refers to a value of set pieces that can be collected. For instance, with this guy who has an 8, you could take 2 of these 4 value set pieces, or you could take, a 5 and a 1 and a 2 or whatever, anything that adds up to 8. A circle is for costume pieces. A quill, like you can, on this one, he's kind of hard to see. This one's easier to see. Right there, that's a quill. That lets you move a token on one of the acts on the main board, and I'll go over the acts in a bit. There's a color for each act, red, gold, and blue. This one is a blue quill. And a white quill, like this, means that the player chooses which act they want to move their token on. Masks, like this, let you move a token on the ambiance track on your player board. And the number on the coin in the upper right corner, here and here, is how much that character must be paid at the end of the game. For instance, this is 1 coin, like that, and that's 5, so that's a more expensive character. Actors have blank circles at the bottom of their cards. There are 3 on each actor. And this is where costume pieces will be placed, like this. The icon on the bottom right is the ability that is used during the dress rehearsals on days 4 and 6 if the actor has a complete costume. So this one is a blue quill. Again, hard to see. You can see it easier on this. This is an extra. This is the back of all of these cards. The back of all these cards is an extra. They don't cost anything. You don't have to pay for them at the end of the game. They don't have a special ability up here, but if you put costumes on them, they'll give you a white quill during dress rehearsal. After each player has recruited a character, this is before the beginning of the game even starts, the characters that are left are going to be discarded and replaced before the start of the game. This is an apprentice. He does not have a special ability, but what he'll do is he'll add 1 to each of your craftsmen. For instance, if you have this dressmaker who gives you 6 in costume pieces, if you also have an apprentice, it'll increase this to 7. The first phase of the day is wagering. Each player has 5 tokens that represent the possible number of actions they can take each turn. Players will decide how many actions they would like to take and place that number of tokens in their closed hand. All players reveal their tokens at the same time, and this will determine turn order. Everyone will be bidding between 1 to 5 tokens, and the player who bids the fewest goes first and receives 1 prestige point. The next fewest goes second, and so on. If there are any ties, the player who is highest on the initiative track breaks the tie. So for instance, let's say that blue bid 3 tokens, and orange and green both bid 4 tokens. Then blue's going to go first because they bid the fewest. So we'll put blue first, and blue would get a prestige point. Then, because green and orange bid the same number, it's a tie. So then you'll look at the initiative track, in which case here green is above orange. So green will break the tie, and you know there's really no reason for green not to go first. So we'll put green here behind blue, and then orange will be last. In the next phase, players will activate their characters, and they'll also recruit 1 character, round robin in turn order. The first player to activate an actor, which is on this side and like here, Hamlet, will move to the top of the initiative track. And the second player to do so will take the second spot, and so on. So let's say that green over here activates the author before anyone else activates an actor on the side, and they will move to the top of the initiative track. And then blue, say they activate Falstaff, so blue would go next, and then orange would be last. On your turn, you either place a token on a character to activate it and immediately take that action, or you can recruit a character. How much a player wants the first opportunity to take a specific action or recruit a particular character may affect the number of tokens the player bids in the previous phase. You can kind of look at other people's stuff and see if you can figure out how badly someone else wants to go first based on the set pieces and the costume pieces and the character cards that are out. And then if you think you really need to go first, you can bid low to try and get that first spot. Or you can say, well, I just need a bunch of actions this turn, I don't care when I go, and then you can just bid all 5. And of course, if you're higher on the initiative track, then you can risk bidding a little bit higher because you'll break a tie with any other player. To recruit a character, the player takes the card and places it in their play area. Then they put the card matching their color in the character card pool to show that they have recruited that turn. Characters can be activated that turn too, as long as the player still has available worker tokens. And recruitment does not take up a worker token. So if you bid all 5 tokens, that's 5 actions you can take plus recruiting a character. On this side of the board there are actors, on this side is craftsmen, so I tend to put my character cards that are actors on this side and craftsmen on this side, just to keep track of them easier. To activate a character, you place a token on the card and immediately take the action on the top left corner of the card. Remember that the ability on the bottom right of an actor card, like this down here, is only used during dress rehearsal which is on days 4 and 6 if the actor has a completed costume. So if I activated this character, this is the dressmaker, she gives me 6 points in costumes. So I would look at what's available in the costume pool, take a number of pieces that add up to 6, and then place them directly on an actor. Whatever pieces you take, whether they're set or costume pieces, you have to be able to play them immediately. Let's take a look at the characters everyone has on their player board to start with. This is the author. If activated, he lets you either move 1 token 2 spaces on any one act on the main board, or 2 tokens 1 space each on different acts. This is Falstaff. When activated, you move your token 2 spaces on the ambiance track. The handyman lets you take a total of 4 points in set pieces and or costume pieces. The queen will either give you 4 gold or a secret objective. You would draw 3 cards from the objective deck, choose one, and keep it hidden, and the other cards would go on the bottom of the deck. The objectives give you goals like if you recruit a certain number of actors, you get extra points. If you can discard money at the end of the game, you get points. If you recruit a certain number of extras, you get points. So those are the type of things that come up in the objective cards. If you activate a character that lets you take set pieces or costume pieces, you must be able to place them immediately. Costume places are put on the blank circles on the actor cards, like I showed earlier. Once an actor has 3 costume pieces, their costume is complete, and you would gain the rewards shown at the bottom of your player board based on the total value of the costume. So let's say that I put a complete costume on Falstaff. That's a total of 8, so 4, 2, 2 is 8. And I would look at this reward thing here. It's 2 coins for 6 to 7 points. For 8 to 10 points, it's a coin and a prestige point, so that's what this is. A value of 11 to 12 is 2 prestige points, and 13 to 15 is 3 prestige points. Set pieces are placed on the stage, and they each have a different value and different rewards. The value of 1 doesn't give you any reward. 2 will give you a coin. 3 will make everyone else's ambiance track go down by 1. A 4 will move you 2 spaces on your ambiance track. A 5 will give you one of these tokens, which lets you add +3 to a craftsman 1 time. So for instance, with this dressmaker, if I had a +3, then 1 time I could make this a 9. These 3 that are gold in color are special. For one thing, they can be used as a wild, but they also can only be taken by the craftsman that's called a jeweler. The jeweler looks like this, and with him on your turn, you can either pick up a gold set piece or a gold costume piece if any are available in the pool. Set pieces have to be placed symmetrically. So for instance, let's say you get this one and then you get that one. The only thing you can put right here would either be another 4, because it has to be symmetrical, or you could put one of these wild gold pieces there. And then that continues up. If you have a 1 here, you'd have to either put a 1 or a wild gold there, like that. And then anytime you cover up one of these candles, like that, you get a prestige point. So there's a total of 5 prestige points on the stage. These pieces here are part of your board, and they count as a starting piece. So you can do that, and that, and that, and then put 1 there, and you would get a point. The symmetrical placement of set pieces is only from this side to this side. It's not right in the small part on one side of the set. So if you were starting over here, this would have to be a 4 or a wild, and this would have to be a 5 for a wild. Once every player has finished recruiting and activating characters, then the ambiance track is scored. The first thing you have to do with ambiance track at the end of your turn, or at the end of that day, is you have to look and see if there are any of these 3 set pieces left in the pool. If there are any left, then every player's ambiance track goes down by 1 for each piece that's in there. So that's some incentive to pick them up, not just because it'll make other people's ambiance tracks go down, but also because everyone's is going to go down if they aren't taken. Once that's resolved, you're going to look at where your piece is on this ambiance track. If it's down here, you lose a prestige point. Here, you would have to move your token back 1 on one of the acts on the main board. Here you get 1 coin. This lets you move a token forward 1 space on an act, and this gives you a prestige point. Once you have scored based on the track, your piece is reset to this middle part. So each day, your ambiance track will move up and down, and you'll reset it at the end of the day. The next phase is dress rehearsal, and that only happens on days 4 and 6, so I'll go over that in a minute. Next is the maintenance phase. The character cards that were not recruited are discarded, and everyone gets their recruitment card back. So everyone would have recruited something this turn because you have to recruit every turn, but anything that's left is discarded, and then new cards are put out for the next turn. Then any unused set or costume pieces are taken off the board and replaced from the bag. Then the day marker moves forward to the next day. On the final phase, rest, each player must rest 1 less character than they activated that turn. For instance, if you activated 4 characters like this, you would then have to rest 3. So 4 minus 1 is 3. And you have to rest ones that you used. So let's say we rest the queen, and we'll rest the handyman, and we'll rest the author. And then you take all of your worker tokens back. A character that is resting cannot be activated on the following turn. I would suggest when you're doing the rest phase that you keep all of your worker tokens out until you're done placing these, because you might just change your mind and move them around and forget which characters you activated that turn. So rest tokens out, and then once it's completely done, then take your worker tokens off. On days 4 and 6, all players have a dress rehearsal. In the order on the initiative track, each player uses the abilities of any of their actors who have completed costumes. So let's say that Iago had a completed costume. We'll put some pieces on here. Pretend he has a completed costume. So he has 3 pieces, he has a completed costume. So during the dress rehearsal, whoever has him will move 1 forward on the blue act, or the 3rd act. So you would move your token 1 space here. So when you're actually at this point in the dress rehearsal, you're going to have people in different spots, and then you'll have people moving additionally based on their actors. So you could have, oh, I move 1, this guy moves 2, and that one moves 2. Once all players have advanced their tokens on the appropriate tracks, each act is scored. The first act, which is red, gives a player coins based on their position. So here, if this token was here, this player would get 1 coin. If blue is up here, they'd get 3, and up here is 5. Act 2, which is this gold act, rewards the first player with 2 points and the second player with 1 point. So in this case, this token blue would get 2 points, and this green one would get 1 point. The third act, which is blue, awards prestige points based on their position. So you would have to make it up at least to here to get a point. This would be 1, this is 2, and this is 3. Any players that are on the first 3 spaces of any of these tracks lose a prestige point. At the end of day 6, each player adds the points received from secret objectives, these cards, and 1 point for each gold element that they have, either a gold element like this in the set, or a gold element like that as a costume piece. It does not have to be part of a complete costume to count for the end of the game prestige points. Players will lose 2 points for each character that they cannot pay, and whoever has the most points wins. If there's a tie, whoever has the most leftover coins will win. It seems like there's a lot going on, but it's a really solid game, very well designed. It flows really easily, so you'll pick up how the game plays very quickly. Thanks for visiting the Dragon Table. I'll see you next time.